And you're welcome back. You're watching TV3 New Day. It's time for big issues. We talk about the big issues making rounds in the news in the country. We already started talking about some of them during this morning segment. We've had our bite on the U.S. visa issue, the new policy, some restrictions, and new things that you need to know if you're trying to travel to the United States, either for a visit, tourism, business, as a student, and so on. We're going to move on to other things now. This morning, the other big issue relates to tomorrow's rerun of elections in some 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. Now, we know that this story has traveled a distance since the 10th of December, after the 8th of December, actually, after the declaration of results, to the matter in court, the January 4th judgment delivered by the courts, all the way to the announcement after the 1st of July meeting with the NDC side, the MPP side, and the EC, and their subsequent announcement that there will be a rerun of the elections in some 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. Now, this was met with mixed reactions, with the NPP saying categorically that they will not participate in the elections. The NDC, on the other hand, have said that they are ready and willing to participate and collaborate with the Electoral Commission to ensure that the people of Ablekuma North get the representation that they need. Now, we know that there were some matters also before the court, including one instituted by the NPP aspirant, Nane Kwefrie. Yesterday, the High Court basically did not grant the injunction application seeking to halt the rerun of the elections tomorrow. And so as of now, we know that tomorrow, on the 11th of July, the rerun of the elections will take place in Ablekuma North. We'll get into that in further detail. But also in the news this morning, we've been talking about the National Cathedral. The news that we've heard is that the National Cathedral board strongly disagrees with a report that the National Cathedral space, the land, will be repurposed for the setting up of a National Cultural Convention Center. Their issue is that the purpose of the construction or the land is really to build a sacred, interdenominational, religious, national facility for all our religious events. And they even cited the, the National Day of Prayer, which began this year on the 1st of July, which has been held outdoors, could have been held at the National Cathedral. They were not consulted about this repurposing, and they strongly oppose this decision. And so we're going to get into that. We'll look at the journey since the National Cathedral project began, the things that have happened, and where we are now. We also look at the One District, One Factory initiative or program, which we have been told will be scrapped. So the Trade Minister, Elizabeth Ofosu-Jare, says that the One District, One Factory program will be scrapped. This was a flagship program by the NPP government, which sought to ensure that every district in Ghana had one factory to sort of shift our reliance from exporting raw materials to exporting value-added products from Ghana to the world. That has been scrapped, and she says that the focus will be on the 24-hour economy initiative. So we'll try to look at all three issues and more really matters arising this morning during big issues. But also, you know that you can win 2,000 Ghana cedis on the show today. If you play, cash out. All you have to do is dial *439#. That's all you have to do. Dial *439#, and 10 of you will win 2,000 Ghana cedis. So we have 20,000 Ghana cedis we're giving away. Kind courtesy Roland Walker. 20,000 Ghana cedis giving away to our most cherished viewers. Just to say that we appreciate you. So we thank you. Join us on the show today. Play at least 50 times. Play 50 times. Dial *439# and play 50 times. We've got 2,000 Ghana cedis. It's quite a lot, right? And we're giving it to 10 of you. So 10 people getting 2,000 Ghana cedis each. Please play and win and enjoy our kindness, the kindness of Roland Walker this morning when you play Cash Out. All right. In the studios, we are joined by public interest advocate Rodlin Imoro Ayana. We're also going to be joined by Shamima Muslim, Deputy Presidential Spokesperson. She'll join us in a moment. Rodlin, it's great to see you. Great to have you.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here.
And always rocking your African print.
Yes, we should.
I tried to keep up. But my tailors are, Daniel tailors. So we're getting there.
We have to send it.
We're getting there.
The tailors to school.
But I think that every Thursday, because I know you will come, I'll be reminded, to look for a nice African print to wear. Thank you for always reminding us. It's a good thing. So today we're going to be trying to touch on all these three issues. Tomorrow's rerun is scheduled to take place, so perhaps we should start with that.
Okay.
And then we'll ease our way into the other topics. Just by way of reminder, let's take a look at the matter that Nanekwe Friye, the aspirant representing the NPP, sent to court. So as of yesterday, the High Court dismissed Nanekwe Friye's injunction. So she had prayed the court for an order to prevent a substantial miscarriage of justice, which cannot be remedied in damages if the Electoral Commission is permitted to proceed with a rerun of elections in 19 polling stations in Ablekuma North tomorrow, the 11th of July. That was the prayer she brought before the court. Her application was dismissed as unmeritorious, as the balance of convenience tilts in favor of the respondent, who has a constitutional mandate to conduct elections for the people of Ablekuma North constituency in general to have representation in parliament, which is their constitutional right. All right. So basically, that's the matter that she brought before the court. This is the injunction. So this is not the substantive issue. So basically, the balance of convenience, according to the court, tilts in favor of the Electoral Commission and not in favor of the applicant, who is Nanekwe Friye. And so the injunction application was not granted. That means that the election will take place as scheduled, and the NPP have told us that they are not going to participate. But yesterday, though, during the show, we got a call from one of our viewers who said that, but they are campaigning on the ground. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works exactly. But according to the caller, they're campaigning actively.
Actively?
Yeah, on the ground. So anyway, so it's happening tomorrow. What are your thoughts on how far we've come?
I'd like to say good morning to our cherished viewers. Good morning to the Alliance for Change members, although we are defunct. Something good came out of our alliance, and I'll share with you this morning.
Something good came out?
Oh, yes, out of the alliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which you will share with us later this morning?
It's part of the discussion, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're looking forward to hearing all about it.
Yeah. So all I can say is that it's a good thing if they're going to take part in the elections.
They are not taking part?
Oh, they will. You see,
okay,
they will have to take part.
Okay.
They are not
Do you
learning.
know something that we don't know?
No, it's not that I know something that you don't know. But you see, they are not learning from history. Now, this whole process of representation in Parliament, we saw Sal, not having representation for a good 4 years. It wasn't good for the people. And if we follow the history of this country, in 1992, the NPP boycotted the parliamentary elections.
Yeah.
And I think that after that, they did a kind of mind, settling for themselves. And they came out. One of the, I think, two leading members, Sam Okujeto, lawyer Sam Okujeto, said that it was the worst blunder of his life. He said it. Sam
the
Okujeto,
worst blunder of his life.
Of his life. And
not participating in the 1992
yes, not participating in the 1992 parliamentary elections, boycotting it. And then we had, I think, Honorable Hakman Owusu-Agyeman also coming out later to say that it was a mistake not to have participated. You understand? So this should inform them that it's not always good to just go jumping around and say we boycott. You don't just continue boycotting. You go and then you play the game. If you go and you win, fine. If you don't, fine.
You don't think their reasons are legitimate?
What are the reasons? You see, let's take a look at the figures. Mm-hmm. For over so many years, that particular seat has always been a stronghold of the MPP.
Yes.
Come 2024 elections, it closed up. NDC used to have about 25%. And then it closed up to 49%. That tells you something. So if there was a problem, apparently there were skirmishes, people went in there to ballot boxes, being sheets missing and all that. And the two sides felt that they had won the elections. If I am to go by the things that happened, other strongholds that were lost to the NDC from the MPP, I would say that probably the NDC won that seat. That's what I would say.
The MPP says that they won.
Well, and
by
NDC
a margin of over 400 votes.
400 votes.
Yes.
The NDC is also claiming that they won. So the Electoral Commission decides that let's go for a rerun of specific polling stations. The best you can do, if you really know and you feel and you believe that you won and that you have the numbers on the ground, is to go and face the NDC again to make up your point that we feel that we won and we are going to beat you to it. That is how it is. When we're in school, when somebody beats you and you think that you go and study more, to come and beat that person, to be able to say that, look, the last time you had it, it was just by luck. So I don't see why the MPP should boycott if they really want to boycott.
Not to catch you, but let me just welcome Shamima Muslim, who has just joined us, Deputy Presidential Spokesperson. Looking very, very lovely this morning.
Haven't seen you in a while.
I know, it's been a minute. So
I know you're learning.
Congratulations on everything so far.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and congratulations as well.
Thank you.
It's
great to see all of us.
Value, indeed.
We're trying. It's always great to see women doing great things and encouraging the younger ones, so showing us that.
That includes you.
There's a lot.
That includes
we can
also doing great things.
She's so multi-layered, multi-talented.
That's
amazing.
Okay.
Let's take it. It's not always that you get all those accolades coming.
Take it.
So
Ablekuma North.
Ablekuma North.
But you're saying that you're certain they will participate, even though they say they won't.
Well, if they are not there physically, their ballot box will be there. MPP ballot box will be there because I'm sure the EC has printed the ballot papers already, and if she has, then it will be there.
Then people might still
and people might still go in there and vote.
Their preference.
Yes, people might still go there. So
what would happen? I mean, if history is anything to go by, what would happen if a party that has declared that they will not participate happens to get the majority of the votes because their picture is on the ballot or their candidate is on the ballot paper?
Well, that would be another court case, wouldn't it?
I have no idea.
Well, I suppose so, because at the end of the day, you didn't want to, but people thought that you should take it. So what happens then? NDC then says that, look, we went and that is it. Your votes might be void because at the end of the day, you said you were not participating. You understand? So I'm just looking at, but it would be bad also, and it would be sad if we should go into it without them. And then let's say the voting becomes like 34,000 and then you go and get 200. It goes into our history books, regardless of the fact that you boycotted. People are going to say that when you went to Ablekuma, you got 200. You understand? So it is always good for them to accept that it's the right thing to do. Let's go in, let's participate. It's a game. Politics is a game, and it's a game of numbers. So why are you denying your constituents or your supporters of going to, vote? That is not fair. I think that the MPP should have a rethink. They should participate in this election and tell us, we don't want another stolen verdict to be written. In 1992, they wrote a stolen verdict. And then when they sat back and reflected, they realized that they made mistakes and it was wrong. They should have gone. And I am saying, even though some of their members are saying that one seat won't make much of a difference, looking at the numbers in Parliament now, one seat will make a great deal of difference. because the NDC is expecting that one seat to get a 2/3 majority, and you want to deny them that seat. That alone should inform you that as a serious party, you would go and fight to the nail to get that seat. So it's very important for them to go there to exercise their franchise, and their constituents would want to do the same. So I will appeal to the leadership of the NPP that they should advise themselves and allow for their constituents and their supporters to go out there and cast their votes.
All right. Now, Shamima, yesterday we heard that the court had denied the injunction that the aspirant representing the NPP had, applied to the court for. Does this make any difference to the NDC side going into the rerun tomorrow?
Good morning once again to you and to all the viewers. And let me also acknowledge the resilience of the two women who have had to struggle it out right up to this point, where it would seem as if a closure is nigh. And I, as a female advocate, I am happy that at least they've all shown a lot of resilience. And for me, either way, the fact that it would have been a woman would be a good enough outcome. But as a member of the NDC, it is my hope that, the NDC candidates will carry the day. And I always tell all of our feminist and, women organizing groups that we cannot do this call for more women representation without backing our words with action. And I've always said that they in particular, especially the women's movement and the advocacy groups for increasing the numbers, cannot always plead, the fifth in terms of not coming out to support. My proposition is, if we are going into an election and there are women candidates on the bill, they need to support all the women candidates on the bill.
Okay.
If there are particular constituencies where there is a female, contestant, they should be able to come out in support of that female contestant. If there are constituencies where we have two females, like in this Ablekuma, North election, then the advocacy group should support all the candidates equally. Then the political parties would also go in and, campaign for their individual members. And at the end of the day, the best person should win, because we cannot increase the numbers if the numbers don't increase. The numbers increase through all of us voting for, the women on the bill, and all of us advocating for those women. And most of us also stepping up to the plate. That's the only way the numbers will increase. And, and of course, if, through appointive powers as well. But as you know, with Parliament, it is an electoral process and people must go through the election. So first of all, to commend all the female candidates in the two female candidates in this, election. They've held their own. They've all fought a very good fight. And I think that tomorrow offers an opportunity to bring these matters to an end. There ought to be an end to litigation. And if you look at the core of the matter, we cannot, collate results where there are missing documentation at the core of it. And I think that any call for justice will require us to, embrace this process to rerun the election in those contested areas where there are no documentation to prove who won in those particular areas. I would invite the NDC, and I've heard my sister say a lot, and I agree with you on your call, that it would seem as if the opposition still fails to learn lessons in terms of, their own mistakes of the past. And it looks like they are not a learning organization. They're not willing to even take their own lessons, from the past, from their own reports about similar actions. You don't set out of a process that would go on without you. You participate in the process, and if there are challenges you have with the outcome, you use the avenues, available to contest those same outcomes. There was an election petition, was there not in the past? There was a presidential election petition. They held the entire country to ransom for a good 8 months. and eventually the court spoke. The thing about institutions, and we always thinking that the problem with our democracy is political parties and not extending the same strict levels of accountability to the institutions cloaked with powers to protect the democracy is what has brought us to
Which
this
institutions
fact.
are you referring
and I'm
to?
talking about these accountability institutions like the Electoral Commission, like the judiciary, like Parliament, like the executive. But you would agree with me that there's this disproportionate expectation from the politicians to behave better all the time, to do right all the time, and they seem to be the fall guys when things are going wrong in our body politic, as against the Electoral Commission, for instance. And I say that sometimes when we are raising these issues, today, it is members of the New Patriotic Party that are telling us that the EC is not fit for purpose. How rich? Is it not amazing? What we did as a party was to put a structure of extreme vigilance in place.
During the elections?
Before the elections, to set up systems to counter every opportunity to steal the mandate of the people.
But would you disagree that the EC has actually been held to very strict and high standards during this election on the part of the NDC, on the part of Ghanaians as a whole? Because I think now more than ever, constantly, we hear questions from media also, questions about the conduct of the elections, questions about why things went wrong. The media did a 24-hour coverage of everything that happened during the elections. TV3 did everything that happened during the elections and kept people informed. So I'm asking this because you said that politicians have been held to a higher standard.
After the horse had bolted. When the NDC started raising concerns right at the beginning, based on the composition of the EC, that is where we needed to all come together and not make it an MPP-NDC situation.
Because composition of the EC,
yes, where some of the EC commissioners were known members of the New Patriotic Party, which was pointed out that the EC is one of the institutions that must rise above partisan sentiments or any suspicion of partisanship. And for the New Patriotic Party under the leadership of Nana Bawumia then to ignore all right-thinking sentiments and good sense about the nomination of those specific individuals into the Electoral Commission was at once a discount of trust in that institution to be able to do right by Ghanaians and by the political actors. And every action they took led to consolidating that perception that this EC was more an appendage of the New Patriotic Party. And today, because they are attempting to finish a process that they ought to have finished like yesterday, the NPP, who were the #1 beneficiaries of the tinkerings of the members of the Electoral Commission, and their intransigence in at least opening up to the criticisms, to the feedback that was being given to them to strengthen their process. Please, it was the vigilance of the NDC that exposed a lot of things that could have gone wrong in the 2024 elections. The Eagle Eye Project under the leadership of Dr. Omani Boama. That is what has exposed this Electoral Commission. And today, it's welcome news that the MPP now believes that this EC is not fit for purpose and are in concert with the NDC in hoping that we should be able to do something about this crop of Electoral Commission leaders.
Do you believe that the EC is fit for purpose for the purposes of the Ablekuma North elections tomorrow?
This is what we have always said, that we don't trust. You don't expect voluntary unselfishness from those who wield power and those who want to use that power arbitrarily and capriciously. How do you counter that? Through vigilance. Through vigilance. And it's the vigilance that helped the NDC right up to this point. It is the vigilance that is still in play, even as the EC has no other, opportunity than to hold the election. I'm sure they would have wished not to. But right now, they are in the minority, and they need to do things to recover the image that has really been bruised and battered. So for us, vigilance is the key. And we are not, and you can see, we are on the ground. The NDC executives are all on the ground. We are campaigning. We are helping the candidates to mop up the vote. We're engaging in community public education. And I'll use this medium to encourage all constituents of the Ablekuma North constituency to turn up in your numbers tomorrow and to exercise your franchise. I mean, at the end of the day, whoever wins should reflect the will of the people. If it is Orbine, we will be happy for us as NPP. If it's not her and it's any other candidate, so be it. But I think the fear of the New Patriotic Party is that they almost feel that they're not going to win, you know, in these constituencies. Not because they themselves have told us that it is their stronghold, but because of what has happened to this country, the healing journey we are on, the progress we are making, the way the economy is reflecting in people's direct pockets, you know, the change in tone of governance, you know, the spirit, the renewal of the spirit of the Ghanaian, the hope that this country would work for the mass of our citizens, not for a clannish few, is what is really putting fear into them that, again, if they participate, it will be a very negative verdict for them in terms of, you know, the outcome of the elections. But that is even why you should participate, so that you will test your strategies that you have been rolling out as a micro minority since January, to see whether what you've been doing is serving you well or it's further, you know, diminishing your image in the eyes of the general populace.
They say
test
that
your popularity, because you seem to think, and your leaders seem to say, Nashoko, that Ghanaians are regretful for voting for the current administration. Your leaders believe so much, and they communicate same on a daily basis, that Ghanaians are regretful. And then you run away from that opportunity that will give you evidence to back your claim that the citizens of Ghana are regretful.
The reason they put forward for not wanting to participate in this election is not that they are afraid to go back. It's not that they are worried that they might not win. They have been very clear that they had an obvious win with over 400 votes. And because of that obvious win, there is no reason to rerun the elections. They've also cited the 4th of January judgment from the courts that the EC should collate and declare the results. They don't see the reason to rerun this election in the 19 polling stations. If at all, there were 3 polling stations in dispute. And so that's just to put across that the reasons they have put forward, there's nothing to do with the fact that they don't think that their stronghold is no longer their stronghold, or that they are afraid, or any of that. But let me read a few messages that are coming in, and then we'll continue. And I'm particularly glad that you are here because of the next topic that we're going to move on to, which is the 1D1F announcement by the Trade Minister that the 1D1F program is or has been scrapped. And so we'll get onto that in a moment, unless you wanted to respond to anything regarding tomorrow's
I'll just still advise them to go
and participate,
because emotions do not win elections. So for anybody to come and say, I'm a widow and you want to take something away from me, doesn't make sense. It's the thumb that's going to decide that. So they should go out there and vote.
Okay. Musa Abattoir says, good morning now. The NPP's attempt to block the Ablekuma North rerun raises serious doubts about their credibility, especially if they truly believe that they have won. Their refusal to participate suggests a fear of losing. The Electoral Commission should also be held accountable for its incompetence, particularly the suspicious loss of original pink sheets, which points to a possible deliberate wrongdoing. Ghana deserves a credible commissioner. My regards to Shamima Muslim. Shamima, I actually have about 5 months of regards to give to you from one Alhaji Yeah, so you've received the regards.
Every morning.
Okay, all right.
Every morning.
Now, the board of the National Cathedral projects must be prosecuted for supervising the dissipation of $58 million, and Nana's personal pledge to God. The board members should be ashamed of themselves rather than going into hiding. They are still rearing their ugly heads in public. Please, Mr. AG, go for these armed... Okay, Stephen Peng sends us that from WA. All right, I'll read some more messages as we go, but let's go on to the 1D, 1F story. We heard that the Trade Minister, Elizabeth Ofosu-Jare, has stated that the 1D, 1F program has been scrapped. Now, this program was supposed to move us from our reliance on raw material export to exporting, processed products in their final or finished state outside of the country. I visited the northern region during our community manifesto, and somewhere in Tamale on Avrongo, I visited one of the shea butter producing compounds, and one of the reasons, or one of the problems which they said that they have, is the export of the raw shea outside of the country and the import of finished shea butter products. And so they were calling on the government to, one, stop the exporting of raw shea, because by the time it comes back, Ghanaians literally cannot afford it, and it takes away the opportunity for the local producers to produce shea butter in mass quantities. And they asked for factories to produce their finished products. And this is something I've tried to talk about every opportunity I got. Now, one district, one factory has been scrapped. Why has one district, one factory been scrapped?
If you put it that way, that would be a bit misinforming.
Okay, please tell us exactly what it is.
So, I mean, if you listen to the Minister of Trade on the floor of Parliament yesterday, she was asking a specific question about what is the future of the one district, one factory program of the previous administration. I think that to answer that question, you need to go into what we have been doing since January. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama announcing a more holistic approach to dealing with the structure of our economy. And we cannot speak about it without having a broad appreciation about our 24-hour program, because yesterday the Trade Minister, Honorable Elizabeth Ejari, did give us an appreciation of what we're doing with that program. And it is not the NDC that has scrapped it. I think that the program itself was almost stopped towards the end of the administration of the New Patriotic Party. So it would be erroneous to say that NDC have scrapped it. The MPP itself had not been able to quite achieve the mandate of that program. Safe to say that there are a few factories that exist. There are some privately owned factories, and as you would have reported in some of your reports, some of the launch of the factories were actually individually owned factories that were brought upstream on the one district, one factory program. And for those existing factories, to the extent that they are operating, to the extent that they are providing jobs and they are, bringing value addition to Ghana's primary, resources and raw materials, they should still be in good stead. I would also say that there are companies that would be able to access the program under the 24-hour program. Just last week, at the launch of the 24-hour initiative, I came across a number of entrepreneurs who told me that they were working under the previous one district, one factory program. There's a particular man who spoke to me about the textiles industry and how his attempts to set up one of the biggest local textile base in Ghana that would actually serve the sub-region was frustrated under the 1D, 1F, but a lot of work had been done, and already he's being listened to, and he's receiving, he has visited the 24-hour secretariat, and conversations are, far advanced. So it is not that. What we must now educate the general public to understand is the broad-based program of our 24-hour economy. And I'll just quickly...
Under the 24-hour
Yes.
economy, is it not possible to, should I say, subsume the one district, one factory policy? So, for example, this northern woman who spoke to me about her appeal for a factory to be set up so that it could process the shea butter, produce the final product in large quantities. This would fit perfectly well under the 24-hour economy program. For example, if a factory was set up for them to be able to produce the shea butter in large quantities than they want. Is it not possible? Yes.
So that realistically, that is what we should expect, isn't it? So
Is that
again,
what will be
and
done?
I'm happy that you mentioned share, because if you were watching the news yesterday, Dr. Otukono, who's our director in charge of presidential special initiatives on agriculture and agribusiness, yesterday announced a global share, festival that will be happening in September 2 to 4. You would know that Ghana actually last year was touted as the largest exporter of shea products. And in fact, apparently we've been able to export 70,000 tons of shea products annually. And the value of that is about $112.6 million. So your share economy is high on the agenda of the emerging industries that we're looking at, again, under the one district, one factory, to ensure we are mobilizing 1 million women and youth are in the share, value chain. And there are some threats to that industry because they are cutting down trees and turning them into charcoal. And we need a lot of restoration. We need to plant more shea trees in the northern region. Right. And this program is going to happen in Tamale, in the northern region. And it's globally.
The festival.
Yes, the festival is happening in Tamale to bring the world to Ghana, which is the hub of the shea industry. And we're just trying to plug in very quickly and take advantage of this, status to set Ghana up as the hub for the shea industry within West Africa and even globally, if you may. So let me take you through why we are saying that anyone who is already working in an industry or has a manufacturing base should have no fear at all. And we shouldn't be so preoccupied with names and labelings, because we couldn't call it one district, one factory if it is not, it doesn't fit into the broad framework of what we want to do. So there are 8 broad categorizations of the 24-hour program. And the major one is the Grow 24. Grow 24 is all about agricultural transformation and everything else that we do under the agro-processing, which the focus really is now. Because we're saying if we don't add value to our primary products, we would never move away from this, import-driven economy of ours to self-sustaining and even to grow the ability to be able to export some, things of value. So we need to look at the Grow 24. Then the Make 24 is about the manufacturing growth sub-program.
Okay.
And this is where your fear is coming from. So they find themselves here.
Okay.
Everyone who wants to establish a manufacturing base in Ghana, industry in Ghana, to add value to our raw materials would find themselves under the Make 24 program.
So what you're saying is that away from the naming or labeling of the program or project or initiative, factories or industrialization with regards to, so for example, the shea business will still go on.
Of course.
We're possibly still going to put up factories.
Not possibly.
We are going to put up factories.
Exactly.
Except we are not calling it one district, one factory.
Why should we?
All right.
So I think that the media should not be too clear. And I'm saying,
right.
So the reportage even seemed to suggest that we have cancelled one district, one factory program.
The news report really
it is not our program.
1D1F has been cancelled, and then it continues to say it has been scrapped. But let's just listen to the minister speak, on the floor of Parliament so that we're clear exactly what she said. Let's take a look.
Mr. Speaker, I want to draw my colleagues' kind attention to the fact that as of now, there is no policy as 1D, 1F. I thank you. But in the absence of 1D, 1F, the ministry is into agro-processing parks. And so if you listen to the 24-hour economy launch, the 24-hour economy is the new thing on the block, the game changer, that which seeks to make Ghana very vibrant, irrespective of the minutes of the hour, the time of the day. And we are doing agro parks. And these agro parks, which seeks to be a great game changer, especially in the agro processing zones, are being worked on to ensure that we are able to produce more around the clock for import substitution and for export, for foreign exchange earning, and more importantly, to create jobs for our team youth. I thank you very much.
Right, so that's the minister on the floor of Parliament speaking to the issue. And so she did not say that it has been cancelled. She did not say that it has been scrapped. She basically just said that as we speak now, there is no such thing as 1D, 1F. Let me come to you, Rodlin. What do you make of all of this?
First and foremost, let me say that I am really happy that we are doing agro packs. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, because I remember as a member of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, under the leadership of Mr. Alan Trematin, we went to him and we gave him a copy of our great
yellow book,
our great GTP, our great transformational plan. And agro-processing was under our agriculture.
What happens what are agro packs to start with?
Agro packs, what we thought of was that these were supposed to be things that we would divide the country into various units. For instance, we realized that if you look at the OT area, we could have aquaculture, fishing, processing, and all those things. And then if you looked at the 5 northern regions, they would be the food baskets of the country, where we would grow everything, process them, market them, and all that. And then we looked at the inland also. What can we do? There were places like, if you looked at the Ashanti region, the Brangahafo region, we could do tree planting, tree crops especially. So we zoned the country into various units where we could grow certain products, process them, and market them. And then we also thought that we could encourage the young people to go into farming. We could give them incentives. We could ask the banks to give them lower interest rates for them to have the interest to go into farming. So all these things came under our agro-park system. You understand? But you see, the interesting part of the whole thing is that the 1D, 1F was an idea muted by Mr. Alan Trematin when he was in the MPP.
Okay.
Yes, he actually was in charge. But unfortunately, because of the MPP politics, the whole thing was taken from the Ministry of Trade into the presidency, and therefore he had no hand in the
agro packs.
Not the agro packs, the 1D, 1F program.
Okay, that's what you're referring to.
So there was someone in charge of that program in the presidency.
It was no longer under the Minister of Trade.
It was no longer under Alan Trematin, and that is how come. When you have a vision for something, you should be given the opportunity to come out with that vision. But it didn't come out because the thing was taken away from him. But I think that one district, one factory is still a good idea. I'm looking at cottage industries. I'm looking at the way that our towns are and the way that our districts have been designed. If we decide to do central things like regional or national, it might not help us too much. We still need the districts to be able to gather up whatever is produced. Other countries like India and China have always used that kind of plan. You understand? It's something like cottage industries. Let's not make it something that only the big people or big companies. The big companies could be the receiving ends, but we'll have other people producing or growing, and then we buy them and take them to the bigger firms to produce other products.
So you're saying you support 1D, 1F because you believe that our growth, if you like,
yes,
would come from focusing on districts.
Yes, on smaller units.
Smaller units.
Smaller units, one, it will create employment also for people. So it's like if you're going to get, for instance, if you have a Gary processing factory, a very big one, say in the Volta region, let's put it in Ho, for instance, all the areas around, they could all be planting their cassava, okay? Those who can even do the Gary should be able to do the Gary, but sell it to the bigger unit that will market it, if it's worldwide or if it's countrywide. But if you just zone it to one area, one big company, being able to do that, you kind of like leave out the other smaller ones. They might not get the opportunity. So what we need is to actually take a greater look at the districts, how to get everybody involved and not make it in such a way that it's just one unit that will be in charge. But you see, at the end of it all, we are looking at producing local things. Shamima just said something about somebody coming to do textiles, right? It was a textile factory. This country has always had textile factories, from Akosumbo textiles to Printex to whatnot. The one thing that is missing are the cotton farms.
We don't have cotton farms.
There were once cotton farms.
Even my father used to have a cotton farm in Upper West region.
Now the cotton farms are not there.
Why?
We seem to be importing everything.
We are importing them.
Even in the so-called
because they have
fabrics.
now turned them to other things, to concrete.
The cotton farms are not there because...
No. Yeah, because somehow the cotton industry died, you know. We had the ginneries that were built to process these cotton from the cotton farmers. They've all left to rot. They've just been left to rot. And so those areas that were farms have now been taken over by people who have built houses or they've used them for other things. So even the textiles that we are intending to do, we are having to import the raw materials from there. And then we look at from the northern sector, we're looking at granules. We had granules, oil mills, a lot of them, even Boko had. We had rice mills.
We still do.
Yes, we still do, but is it enough to even provide for us? Is it enough? It's not. We still import a lot of oil. Yes, you understand? So at the end of it, I'm saying that there's so many things that we want to do, but we have to go back. We shouldn't just look at the old scripts. We have to go back into the system again and see if there's available land for all of these things. We started planting teak in the 80s, teak trees for provision of electricity poles. Somewhere along the line, it just died off. People were, it was one of the good things that came out. Everybody was in it. So there's so much that we can do for ourselves if only we go back. And I'm happy, again, that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is going back to the Volta project, started by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It was not just for the electricity. It was meant to be another form where we could have water transport, we could use it for irrigation, along that belt. And if you even go around there, you can see that people are planting bananas for exports and all manner of things. So I am also happy that we're going back towards the agriculture is what is going to get us out of this poverty that we are in. Because the majority of our people are peasant farmers. And we import so much food.
Presently?
Yes, presently we import.
No, I'm asking in relation to the majority of our people.
Presently, a lot more of us are into farming. A lot more of us are into farming. But we are not looking, let's not look at we are not doing commercial farming like the way South Africans are doing commercial farming, or even across Ivory Coast. The acreage is not like what they have in Ivory Coast, mechanized, real commercialized farming. That's not what we're having, you understand? But outgrower processes is what I was talking about with the district, so that we can get it from everywhere and then build bigger units. Gradually, we'll get there, having those commercial farms. But for now, I think that the agro-park system will help us. And I am really excited about it. And I think that it is something that we should also call out.
I want you to, or maybe Shamina, you can. I want you to, if you can, properly explain what the agro packs look like. What should Ghanaians expect?
That would be
Right.
from the
so,
NDC
from the program under the Make 24, which is really focusing more on manufacturing, the idea is to start with the question, who grows your food, who owns the land, basically, and who benefits? And it's really under the broad scheme of agroecology. And so for the vision around the parks, we are thinking that by 2028, we should have at least 10 Wumbe parks. And each park should have a total about, the parks will be developed with a total of about 50 parks targeted within the next decade. 50 acres or more
50 acres.
per park, and equipped with a number of shared services, because this is really where the problem is: the access to the land, the utilities and services, the connections to be able to move, the road networks. And so each park
Equipment.
is almost like a free zone area that gives everybody that works within that park shared utilities.
Is a park a
It
farm?
increases, pardon?
Is a park a farm?
So a park can have a farm that feeds the factory situated in that,
Park, that enclave.
with
Okay.
raw materials and services. So there are going to be housing quarters. There's going to be the factories located within those specific ecological areas that, would already know what kinds of products and produce,
come out
primary
of
to
them.
that location.
Okay.
So your share factory that is so close to your heart, so somewhere in the northern park, should be able to have share processing factories. Smoke weaving can be located there. Also, some spices and grains can be located within that park. So it's like a one-stop shop. You go to that particular park. It's providing job for the young people in the vicinity of the park. And we're looking at having at least a minimum of 10 of those parks by 2028 across different locations in the country, minimizing the challenges with land and also ensuring, even with power supply, whether they are going to have their own embedded power systems within those parks. So it's like an entire ecosystem.
And it's 50 acres per park.
Yes,
And you're looking at 50 parks.
yes,
Okay. And this is across the country.
across the country.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask
50
you-
minimum or more.
Okay, so
if
like
we are able
share,
to get
share
it.
processing, for instance, if you have a pack or you're going to get packs, looking at the way we pick share, we pick it from all over the
Wild.
regions. It's a wild thing. It's not planted somewhere. How are you going to get all the farmers in all these various places to feed the parks? If the park, for instance, the people of Boko or Upper East, let me say, Upper East will be picking their wild, and they process them individually, probably in their homes and stuff like that. How are you going to be able to get all these ones, assuming that the central unit factory is in Wa?
We have to get the raw materials to that central
So
unit
that is where
factory.
I was saying that
so
the
roads,
districts-
Okay.
the road networks which are part of it. In fact,
Do you understand
luckily-
what she's saying, though?
Yes, of course.
So
because even as we exist now, factories are sometimes located far away from the raw material source.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to find the raw material source. Sometimes that also impedes their, bring the raw materials to
Production
the
time.
factory base. But you see that the fact is that geographically we know that the share
It's in a particular-
industry is in a particular location. And so if we're going to have proper transport routes and link routes, then it shouldn't be much of a problem to be able to, get raw materials to feed a certain central, manufacturing plant for value addition. And also to say that government policy is to roll out by 2028 raw exports of share nuts. So you might not be able to export raw share
Okay.
without any the nuts.
By when?
Because some towards by the end of 2028, as Dr. Otukono said to us. So there's a bit of an urgency in that particular,
that's good news.
sector. As with we are going to have with many other sectors under the Grow 24 and Make 24 programs.
So you're going to have to either produce it into shea butter, shea oil, or
all
whatever.
the various things. Even pharmaceutical products are using shea as base. So it's a big opportunity. It's going to generate loads of money. And just to add, I mean, if you look at the things that are happening and the savings we're making, just 2 days ago, the president launched the task force for the gold board, and he made some positively startling disclosures. From January up to this point, Ghana has exported over 51.5 tons of gold, $5 billion, more than our revenues from our multinational gold, companies operating in Ghana, all because of this one initiative to ensure we regularize the illicit trade of gold in our country. Because my point, and as we have always heard, is that we cannot continue to allow desecration of our lands, and for those even involved in legal activity to use illegal routes to deny Ghana of its genuine revenues, and to be able to regularize the gold industry, where tons of gold is taken out illegally every year, at the expense of our own development and money that we require. 5 billion is what this country has made by just trying US dollars. So there's so much that is happening to the economy that we must be proud of as Ghanaians, and to hope and work hard to consolidating. Look at the indicators. Inflation has steeply declined to about 13.7%. We haven't seen that since 2021, and I think that's amazing. If you look at what the stabilization of the cedi as a result of these forex that we are able to store, and the fact that as we speak, Ghana has been able to honor its debt obligations and pay the Eurobonds, which is now giving us a stable outlook from the rating agencies. And stability is always good for investment. Money would find its way back to Ghana. Money will go into the places. The transport minister has announced that the big push road construction is going to begin this month. And it's all because the finance ministry, working in tandem and in concert with the Bank of Ghana, are doing the right things to stabilize, to save before we spend. And I think that's a very logical way of doing it. And Ghanaians must just bear with this government just a bit more. They're doing a lot of, from all these savings we are making, is what is enabling us pay our debts so we can have some breathing space and some stability to be able to attract the right investment and to be able to put those investments in the right areas that will generate the jobs for the youth of this country. Ghana is growing, and we must all support this new renewal and revival of our dear country. It's beautiful to watch, and we would sustain it and sustain the gains, God willing.
I'm most interested in the Move 24.
I want to know in the Move 24 what's in there for the youth.
What do you mean by Move 24?
Oh, Make 24,
Make
not
24.
Well, you didn't even, if you like, let me just quickly go through the eight.
Youth. What's the youth will
so
benefit from
all
this?
of it,
Because
at the base
in all
of it
this-
is the job creation.
Yeah.
Because if we don't create the jobs, we don't have a problem. So for example, we have a problem. The Grow 24, which is really the program now that is pushing for agriculture and pushing young people into agriculture.
So Grow is agriculture-based.
It's agriculture-based, and if you look at it, it's food sovereignty-based. We're looking at ensuring that at least the food import bill is over $2 billion. And you know what we import? At the top 5 of the things that we import, rice, offals, guts,
Yes.
eyemadeɛ is like the second most imported food product. Then the frozen chickens, then gizzards, of poultry. Are we saying that with the vast arable lands we have, with the right intentional investment, we cannot grow rice to feed this country? The Upper West Belt alone can grow enough grains. They have the best maize to feed the entire country. The Upper West alone can grow enough maize to feed the entire country.
Presently,
given the opportunity,
if the right
they have the best variety of maize. That Upper West Belt. So let me quickly go through them. So that's the Grow 24, your agric program, where we are asking you to do akukon kitting, and we are getting a lot of interest, shockingly, pleasantly so, in individuals, small, everybody wanting birds to start this akukon kitting. So when we talked about the 24-hour economy, people want to reduce it to say, okay, you said you're going to have one job, 3 people, 3 shifts. And that is all they understand about a 24-hour economy. But we are saying that it's a philosophy that invites you to embrace a 24-hour mindset, to know that every hour of the day is an hour that you can use to engage in some productive activity. That you can come to work 8 to 5. Between 5 to 10, you can tend to your small scale, enterprise, your little poultry farm, your piggery. You can grow something. Between 8 to 10, you can crochet if crocheting is what you want to do. You can create content if content is what you do. It's the agency of knowing that if we don't put our productive time to productive use, we're not going to move away from this dependency that we currently find ourselves in. And
so let me just read the slide that we put up for our viewers to see under Grow 24. It focuses on transforming the agricultural sector through technology-driven, climate-smart practices that allow for all-round the clock production and value addition. It aims to ensure food security and reduce post-harvest losses. All right.
So I'm going to quickly just go through the rest of it.
Okay.
So, you're an artist. So sometimes we have to make it easy for people to recollect some of these programs. So we must grow food, isn't it? We must eat. Food is like the biggest basic. When you grow something, shouldn't you make something out of what you grow? So we must make something out of what we grow. We must add an agro-processing. We must add value. We must create things from the things that we grow. And when we grow things and we have money, we should build some things. So when you grow your food and then you make the things that you want to sell, you get money, you should be able to build a house, isn't it? The same with government. Government should be able to put in place manufacturing, the construction sector, and the public works that would set up and build the infrastructure that would make it easy for you to move the things that you have grown and ensure that there's connectivity.
So that's
and it's
build
all
24.
that. So we have build. And then when you build something, shouldn't you show the world what you're creating? So Show 24 is all about our culture offerings, our tourism offerings, our creative economy.
And this is a huge interest of mine.
I know it.
Okay.
And to generate the consumption of these products, because this is where you're going to make your money. When you write your play and you stage your play in a national theatre that is the only available option for you, which has a very low seating capacity, which is not resourced with the right, infrastructure to give you the best comparable to everywhere else in the world, then you know that we have a problem.
Since you have mentioned the National Theatre,
then connect to
since you mentioned the National Theatre, let me just ask you, do you have specific plans for the National Theatre in terms of renovating, giving it a facelift?
The president has mentioned it because he
tell us what
loves theatre, and I think that the tourism minister would announce. Yes, he does love theatre, so
I'm happy to hear that.
Please bring an invitation to him. He would honor it within his schedule.
We will send it. But if you could just speak to it, I mean, as we go on.
I think there's a comprehensive program that the tourism minister herself is going to.
Honorable Jifar
would be.
She herself is a theatre.
Be having briefings very shortly, so that's your cue to mark our 6th month in office.
Okay.
The government is going to have a number of briefings from key ministries and agencies with regard to the scorecard 6 months after, January 7th. And there we would hear some of the bigger plans and programs for the specific sectors dear to your heart. So within the tourism, you would hear about the tourism infrastructure development plan, the resorts and the various offerings, and how government is going to support private sector to participate in our tourism sector and ensure that we have the right, service delivery, we have the right infrastructure to be able to receive, this beautiful thing that the GTDA, the Ghana Tourism Development Authority, is doing, the Accra by Night rides, where every month they organize a night ride.
Felicity Nelson promoting it.
Let's not leave it all to Accra.
People are, but it's a beginning. It's a beginning.
Because everybody is complaining. That's how come Accra is getting overcrowded.
Well, there are.
But it's a beginning. I would love to see it in bigger metropolitan areas, Kumasi, Takoradi.
But I think that the first things we should be doing then is to make sure that our what do you call them? These local communities have somewhere to go. At least I think they call them community centers. We should be able to revive all those community centers, and those should be places that you can go and actually talk to people. Yes, talk to people about some of these things that government is doing. Because at the end of the day, if you don't communicate to the people and you just feel that maybe you have said it to the media and it's gone, lots of people do not know what is happening.
So let's see if we remember which of the things I've said do you remember now?
In terms of build, the grow, or make.
So you remember.
So you grow, you make, you build,
and then grow, make, build,
then show,
and then you show,
and then we have connect. So when we show, let's connect. Connectivity is about the logistics, it's about the transport and the digital infrastructure that would make it easy for us to communicate all of these things beyond borders, beyond regions, beyond lines. And then, of course, the big item is the funding for these programs. So the Fund 24 is about creating access to capital and also innovative financing for investing in a lot of our priority key areas. And Aspire 24 would be our skills development and digital capacity. So the education, the lifelong learning, the Ejumawura
I want us to look at Fund again. So
yes.
Fund 24 focuses on financial inclusion with policy support for banks, fintechs, microfinance institutions to operate extended hours and facilitate access to credit and financial services. So this is funds from the financial institutions to support local industry and so on, or support from government to the financial institutions?
Omnibus, both. So it's to even including local philanthropy, because we're going to also encourage local philanthropy to invest in the social sector and to support government's work in terms of the other things that we do for the good of the larger society. So it's also about government programs that support SMEs, like the Ejumawura program that's going to give, financing to SMEs to be able to invest and grow their businesses. It's also about supporting financial institutions with the right policies and environment to be able to grow and to be able to do their business operations. And if a lot of commercial banks are even now having very vibrant, robust SME units, which also includes women, targeting. I know a few banks, I don't think I should give them free publicity, but they do have those specific.
And they've got billboards all over town.
So Aspire 24 is that. And then finally is the creative call to action, which is Go 24, national mobilization for productivity, and all of these things. If we don't mobilize, if we're not active citizens, if we're not having, discourse that is empowering, that is elevating this country, then nothing happens. Because again, we cannot continue to blame politicians. We must also hold institutions accountable. We must hold the media accountable to more responsible journalism. All institutions of state agencies must all, embrace this new ethos and direction of greater productivity, but the right values, because we speak about these things without the right values. If we don't have the right work culture, the right integrity, the right mindset, then there's a problem. Then we don't take off. Then you don't get to now come and blame the politician who comes and go and who are in the minority in comparison to the numbers in the public service and the civil service who transcend political administration. So as soon as EDA politicians for
leadership, the people and direction. But I will come back to you. But I just want us to quickly connect to Zoom. We've been joined by Dr. Samuel Efriye. He's an economics expert, political analyst, just to take a bite on the things that we have discussed so far, especially the matters that affect our economy. Doc, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. Good mornings to my dear Shamima and also Rosalind. I was sandwiched by this beautiful women, so I'm blessed.
We're glad you've joined us. Now, on the matter of the 1D, 1F, which we will now beside or aside the name calling, we will now properly see manifest in the 24-hour economy, according to Shamima, through the build, the grow, the make 24, and so on. What do you make of all that Shamima especially has said so far about this direction?
Well, when every government comes to power, they determine or they come along with their promises. So they came in with this 24-hour economy and the focus that the government is looking at. I am so glad to hear the government focusing on agri, because agricultural sector is one of the key areas in our economy as an Africans that we need to look at. I think previous governments have been refocusing on manufacturing sector, but in our competitive advantage in terms of agricultural sector is where we need to, because when you look at Africa, the agri sector employs 230 million and also GDP of 35% of the GDP of Africa economy. That is the contribution of agri. So even coming to our sector, we always talk about agri, investing in people, farming, but we have not considered the value chain system where we need to add value to various stages of our raw materials, that is the agricultural value. So you can realize that for you to change your economy and to progress and to reduce a lot of dependence on foreign economy, then you need to look at the agri. And I'm so glad the agri is being seen as, because these agri processing parts is a nice idea, is a nice plan for the country. And I believe that the private sector and government should collaborate to ensure that these things, because some of the African countries that have been doing this, we have Jamaica. Jamaica is also doing that. Egypt is also practicing, that is adopting this approach, agri-processing park. We have Morocco, we have Senegal, we have Kenya, and they all look at sectors of the economy. Even some of them look at fishing. So even for us, we can look at the fishing along the coast. And if the fish, how we can get the fish, how we can process them, how we can add value to it. With Shamima, I heard her talking about financing. There should be a financial system that will provide all these support. There should be an infrastructure system that will support. It's an integrated system where it will help all of us. And we should look at the country, each and every region, where we have a unique kind of competitive advantage. So as I said, if we come to the forest belt, if it is cocoa, if it is timber, if it is any agricultural product that we can integrate and add value to it, then we have a path for that. If you talk about the north, and we can also see. So I think that my issue now, or my concern, will be the financing. If we can able to do this within the shortest possible time, it will transform our economy. At the same time, we will have a food security. We will ensure that food security is assured, where we will not go and should I say, import tomato from Burkina and other things. I think we can have a system, because when we come to Ashanti region, we can talk about Offenso, where we have the tomato. We have not yet have a factory. So the park can be sited at that place, add value to it, financing, and administratively. And I will urge them, and in my humble appeal to the 24-hour economy secretariat, to look at the administrative aspect of it, because there's a government that will provide all these plan and also to encourage or to facilitate. So government should ensure that administrative processes are adhered to within the shortest possible time. If someone needs to get a land, if someone needs to get certain things, because the private led, when the private people comes in, government should have a good administrative processes so that we can have these things be put in place within the shortest possible time. If not, then we can take it. It will take us a longer time to have these things in place. So it's a very good plan, and I believe that the government should look at it very well and ensure that the right implementation processes and structures are put in place for it to start. They can start gradually. They can just pick. I think I heard from Shamima, and the government can look at that, the poultry. Where can we have those parks? Did they have those parks? If we can just have all these small farmers, then we bring them onto a board to a certain site. We add value to it. We process them to short and even the individuals and also companies. And that is what I believe will help us. So the focus on agri, for me personally, it is a great step, and we should look at it very well and improve on our economy based on the agricultural processing kind of parks.
All right, Dr. Freer, thank you so much for that contribution. We're going to come back to you, but let me come to Rodelyn. Before we crossed over to Zoom, you're going to make a point.
I seem to agree with Dr. Freer.
Okay.
Also, most of the things he said. I'm also of the view that in all these things that we're doing, we will end up with finished products and the likes of it. I have always advocated that the Tamale International Airport should be made a cargo airport, because yes, it should be made a cargo airport. In addition to the commercial side of it, so that all these things that we're talking about, the share, the whatnot, right from even the Brongahaf region, they can.
But you know that President John Mahama actually commissioned a share factory in Bupe.
Yes. Yeah, but
years ago, but it got abandoned.
Yeah. So these are some of the things. At the end of the day, we even started. I remember there was this butternut
in 2012. I remember
buttersquash.
Yes,
you remember?
It was a very growing
thing
in the north. Actually, buttersquash. Yes, it grows in abundance.
It grows in abundance, and there was a price for it also, and it was introduced. So these things we have to sustain them. We can't just continue to bring ideas and then at the end of the day there's nothing doing about it. One thing that Mr. Alan Shermartin also said about the park system was that he believed that young people should also be given an opportunity to go into farming, and he felt that to get funding for them, government should be able to convince banks that after they've paid their taxes, the profits that they make, they should at least allocate about 5% to give us loans to young people for them to go into farming. Okay. I think that that's also is a laudable idea, and I hope that the government of the day will pick that up so that the interest will be a bit lower to enable young people, because you can see that young people really want to go into farming, but because of the funding. So if they can do that also,
and
it's
the
fine.
Land.
And the land. And then we have the one thing that I quite remember, have fond memories of, is Bonsa ties. Yes, you wouldn't know Bonsa ties. We used to produce car tires and bicycle tires in this country.
I see.
Yes, it's called Bonsa ties.
Bonsa tires.
Yes, Bonsa tires.
When was this?
Oh, right in the 60s, 70s. Bonsa ties, even in the 80s, we had Bonsa ties. And we have a lot of rubber plantations in the Western region. Most of them now are owned by individuals, but the majority of it then was owned by governments, or Sargefo's government. And so we should look at all these things. If we can go back and produce things like that, because tires, we all use tires.
And the rubber, the raw materials for a lot of the things that we need in this country.
We do have the raw materials.
So we used to have cotton production, mass production of cotton.
Yes.
Mass production of rubber.
Mass production of
tires.
For tires.
Ginneries.
Ginneries, yes.
What we mentioned, of course, we have the shea nuts, maize.
We had everything. We had them. And I quite remember that all these things, even with the last one that I went to see was the bamboo.
So exactly
We had a
how did
bamboo
we move
factory.
away from having the capacity to produce all of these things in order to export or to produce the finished materials in Ghana to a time where we are importing Yemadia? How did we get from there to here?
I think governments, as we had changes in government, they didn't believe in some of these things. For a government to come and continue, we never had continuation of some of these things. So they just died. You look at the ceramic, the Sopon ceramics. I have bowls. If excuse me, if you want, I can bring you bowls
that have lasted.
Produced.
Pyrexes that don't break.
Produced by Sopon ceramics. But we let it all go because we wanted to import. Free market system, an open market. Everybody can bring it. You see, so I'm thinking that we should go back to the basics. We should be able to use what we have to produce what we need. And we've done it before. We can still do it. So if we had oils, if you went into the market, you would have bought granite oil, purified granite oil, and you would use it. We had the palm kernel oil.
Coconut oil.
All those things. We had them. Even palm production is
Don't
low.
tell me we're importing palm nuts and palm
We are.
We're importing palm nuts.
We're importing palm oil.
Oh, okay.
From
In fact,
Brazil and other
there are
places.
oil palm plantations in Ghana owned by foreign companies that take it out and go and bring us back vegetable oils.
And rubbish vegetable oils.
They bring us vegetable oils.
So we decided that we should say everyone should own a farm. So own a farm should be what?
And backyard farming should
feed
come
yourself.
back.
It should come back.
Because I remember when I was younger, well, in my home, we had a coconut tree, we had a palm tree, we had oranges, tangerine, we had
Everything.
pawpaw bananas, and then, peppers, tomatoes, and we had a poultry farm, and then we had goats.
Yes.
And when I was older, I went to secondary school and came back, my father was planting grapes. So he had actually erected, a local pergola, local grapes. And he was, producing grapes. So most of the things we ate at home when I was younger was from home. We had contomere, we grew cocoyam. Okay, if you don't understand Ga, and you won't understand my expression just now.
So you understand.
Yeah, so I agree with the fact that, away from what government is doing, but of course the mindset is also part of the things that government is preaching. Backyard farming must come back. Yeah. But let's talk about the parks and land acquisition. Exactly, what is the plan? What is government's plan to acquire land?
24
for these
hour.
parks?
I can communicate the vision. The details would be with the secretariat and the real operationalization. But it's to work collaboratively with our traditional authorities. As you know, many lands are vested in the traditional authorities. So if we engage with them, and I'm sure many of our traditional leaders now are also faced with the same problems that governments are faced with, the problems of putting their youth to productive work. And so if you sit on vast lands, I think that you must even be proactively interested.
I'm asking
in
because
seeking
I want
opportunities
to know if
space.
the plan is to compulsorily acquire these lands and compensate the owners.
If it has to come to that, I'm sure that has always been one of the ways of acquiring land. You compulsory acquire, but you compensate. And also, the other proposition is to have partnerships, special purpose vehicles. So, who knows? The traditional authority equity in the project might be the land that they provide. I think those are finer details that the real execution will present to us in due course. But the vision remains that we need to work collaboratively with our traditional authorities to be able to acquire land. Land remains one of the major barriers to anything about, manufacturing and even agriculture. And you would see when we met with business leaders at the Flagstaff House, His Excellency invited them to come, and it was a pre-briefing on the same 24-hour economy and some of the goodies that would be there for them in terms of the incentive packages, which is being prepared. It will come to Parliament. Okay. A very broad-based incentive package for all, entrepreneurs, industries, individuals that would want to participate and be part of this 24-hour program. Also, just to say, please, 24-hour program, intrinsically, yes, it will create more jobs. There will be companies that will be able to run shifts that would have 3 people and 3 shifts for the same kind of job, but most especially, it would also be broader than just that. It's just activating the economy to be more productive. And so you may have an 8 to 5 job, but you would be able to do other things beyond your 8 to 5 to be able to create job, money for yourself. And you are here, and some of you must share your experiences. You come and do what you have to do here, and you earn your income here, and you go to do your pop movements.
Because the hustle is real.
So that is the agency. So when you're in that kind of loop, you're productive.
Yeah.
You don't idle, because you know that every hour spent idling is hour that you can be billing for a service, for a product you're creating. And we will not get to that point if we don't do the public education and an awareness and get people to embrace and shift, especially the youth. Especially the youth.
I wanted to find out before we go, and I'll give you the final word, Rodling, for the Grow 24 initiative. Okay, I'm told that our time is shortly. We have just like a minute, so you just answer seconds. In a sentence. Do you have what are the plans for Accra, or are there plans for Accra under the Grow Ghana initiative? Because I think you must have mentioned a lot of areas in northern Ghana,
of course,
and so on.
Accra is still big, and Accra still has arable land, and Accra remains the center. Accra has access to a lot of resources and amenities that other
really is along the coastal area, the fisher folk, and our fathers and brothers.
There's a whole ecological plan for the Volta Lake.
Okay.
That is also going to even reduce the cost of the connectivity by 80% if we're able to ensure that development along the Volta Lake. It would even connect the north to south in terms of the products by using the lake as transport rather than road and everything like that. So there are all those plans, and I think that it behoves on us to communicate more. And just also by wrapping up, so going back to the election for tomorrow, I'd like to invite again all the constituents of Ablekuma North. Please, you have waited. You deserve a representation in Parliament. Irabina Orbine has been with you all these years, and she's shown resilience and commitment. Her party in government is doing absolutely well. So it is time to join the winning train. Apparently, they are saying they won't go, but I just saw videos of the MPP campaigning on the ground.
Today,
so they are on the ground. I'll just show you the videos right now. So please, let's turn out in our numbers tomorrow and do it for Honorable Irabina Orbine. Thank you in advance, the people of Ablekuma North.
Today, I have given you a lot of time, and I know that I have.
Oh, no, but that's
and
fine.
I know that I have. But
because she's a government spokesperson.
We had a lot of questions about this, about the 1D1 effort. So it's a good thing that you came to give us clarity exactly on what it is. Rodlin.
No, well, my closing remarks, I'd like first of all to say good morning to Dr. Abu Sakara, who was the leader of the alliance where I belong. And I think that most of the work that we did, or the Great Transformational Plan, when it came to agriculture, was his brain work.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to acknowledge that for him. And to say that I'm looking forward to an election in Ablekuma North of both parties. And by evening, we should know who is going to represent the people of Ablekuma North, because they deserve to be represented.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Rodlin.
Someone posted something. I'm sorry. The Share Expo is, I said September. Did I say
you
August?
You said September.
Yes. Okay. So someone just posted on social media August, and I was.
No, you said September. Yes,
please,
you said September.
So if you want to exhibit, please
we'll
try
be
and reach out. Yes,
we'll be attending.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there. Dr. Free, are you still with us?
I'm with you, my dear.
Amazing. Can you please give us your final words on basically on the various parts of the 24-hour economy that we've talked about, and how especially young people can tap into it?
Yes, I think the Secretariat should encourage and should give the opportunity and accessibility of their office for the young one platforms, so that they can the young ones can have access to it, and also try to let them have the needed skills before they go into some of these area. And I think someone drew my attention that I've got to add marketing to it. You know, we have to add marketing to the processing aspect of it, so that we can just have the multiplier effect will come along with it. I wish the government well, and I believe that we have to ensure that these things are being done. And let's encourage the Secretariat to do more and start as soon as practicable.
Thank you so much, Dr. Free, joining us there on Zoom. And I'll just read a couple of your messages. Brenda, if you'd allow me, may I? All right, so just reading a couple of your messages. Good morning, Na, and I'm so glad Shamima has explained all of this thing to us. We are happy about the 24-hour economy, but we are waiting for it to start. They should give us timelines. When will it start? All right. Good morning, Na. The MPP should just boycott the 2028 general elections as well. As far as the current EC chair, Jimensa and Boss Manasari are still at post, the hypocrisy of the MPP is legendary and pregnant. Okay. Last one. I'm so glad to watch Big Issues without any arguments. Please, let's continue to have such decorous discussions moving forward. This is education, and this is what we need, all right? That's the last message I'll be reading. Thank you for sending them through. I'm sorry I couldn't read a lot of them. Thank you so much, Shamima, Muslim Deputy Presidential Spokesperson, and Rodlin Imoro Iyana, Public Interest Advocate. And if you need anything on the history of Ghana, she is your person. Yeah. Oh, you're trying to get her to your side. And how is it going?
She's being stubborn small. She's my big sister.
Oh, yes.
So I have to find a way of getting her to our side.
I wish you all the best.
Even you, now I'm eyeing you.
You're eyeing me. I see. All right. If you haven't cashed out, please do so now. Dial star 439 hash and win 2,000 Ghana cedis. Big on the show this morning. 2,000 Ghana cedis. Dial star 439 hash. Select option 2. I've got 20,000 cedis from Roland Walker. We're giving to 10 of you 2,000 Ghana cedis each. So dial star 439 hash at least 50 times and increase your chances of being that person who wins cash this morning on the show. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll talk sports. Tomorrow, the Black Queens are going to be playing Mali. They're going to be playing against Mali. They're live in Morocco. I'll come to work in my jersey. Can't wait. We'll be at Ablekuma North in a Black Queens jersey. Just as we support the Black Stars, please let us support the Black Queens as well. Hashtag the Black Queens. Give them your support. They can see our tweets. They know that we're supporting them. If we don't support them too, they know. And it affects their performance. So tomorrow, we're playing live, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.